Alright guys, I'm here to teach you how to make a whoopie sling, and it's going to be made in two parts. Number one, I'm going to teach you how to make a locked Brummell knot, which is going to be your loop end that's going to go right around the Versabutton on your climbing stick. And then on the other side of that loop, we're going to end up doing a whoopie sling, which is going to slide back and forth. So to start out, what you want is about 8 to 10 feet of Amsteel. This is 3/16 inch Amsteel. This is the same diameter that would come on replacement synthetic rope for a winch for a four-wheeler or for a light truck. Right, so to first make the loop, what we're going to do, this isn't going to be like a half hitch or anything like that. It's going to be nothing like this. This can slip, this can break, this puts it in a bind that we don't want. What we're going to do is we're going to try and figure out how big of a loop do we need to get around here. We don't want something too big where it's going to go on and come off like that. So we want something relatively tight where it goes on and then stays, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go down, we're going to make a loop, we're going to give ourselves about 8 to 10 inches of line here from the loop, and we are going to say, okay, this is how big I want my loop. I've got a Sharpie here, and I'm going to mark it like this. Alright, that gives me about 10 inches, maybe 9 or 10 inches of tag line here. And so the next thing I'm going to do, I have an ice pick here, a knife, and then this is actually a piece of ground wire. This is copper out of a strip of Romex. So you can see it's just got a hard bend here, a hard 180, and this is what I'm going to use to fish the rope through later. But you don't need any special splicing tools because Amsteel is a hollow braid rope, which means that it doesn't have a core. It's not like paracord where it's got internal strands. It's a 12-strand rope, and there's technically no middle. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in the middle of this rope right here and push it in, and we're going to find the middle strands and go all the way through to the other side. Find exactly that hole. Alright, there we go. So we're going to pull that apart. Okay, so we got that hole there in the middle of the rope. What we're going to do is take this tag line and pass it through. Alright, so there's our mark, and this is going to be, we're going to pass it through this side, and we're going to do the same thing right here. We're going to spread this out just like that, and we're going to find, gosh, that was a lot easier. Find the middle of that rope like this, pull it apart, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take this whole loop and we're going to pass it in through here. So we're going to feed it back into itself, right? And what's going to happen is it's going to flip this rope over. So now it's technically upside down. So the next step is, now that it's upside down, we've got to feed this rope back up from the bottom, back up to the top, and flip it right back to the right side that it was, because when we fed the loop in through there, it was upside down. So this is the beginnings of what's called a locked Brummell. Now it's interbraided in itself twice. This is already getting pretty strong. Now what we need to do is we need to feed this tag end down into the main section of rope right here. Okay, this is going to feed into the inside of there. There's no knot, there's no anything. So I'm going to go a little further than the length of this rope, and I'm going to enter in about right here with my fishing tool. So what I do is I just find an opening in the braid and start. If you kind of loosen it up a little bit, it'll go a little easier for you. It'll slide better. But that's going to run on the inside of that rope. You'll see it's not coming out any side, right? You're going to go straight all the way up, all the way up. You can see it working. And then we're going to pop it out right here, right at the throat of where that where it's looped in. Right, a little further. We're going to pop that out right there. Alright, then the reason why this is bent 180 degrees, because if you stick this in here Oops. If you stick that in there and slide it all the way up to the top, it'll hold it pretty tight, at least tight enough to pull it back through. So you're going to bunch this up a little bit, give it some good space, and then we're going to start fishing that tag in through that hole. We're going to fish it all the way out to this end. Alright, so now we've got a bunch of bunched up rope right here. We've got our tag end sneaking out the other side. And so what would happen is if we hid this rope in there right now, if we shove this up in there and pulled it tight, what would happen is we would have a large lump where this ends. So what we're going to do is we're going to taper this off. So we're going to pull about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of these strands out of here, right, like that. You're just going to pull them apart, and you're going to cut half of them off. This isn't holding any load. This is going to help the transition from this fat piece of rope to this skinny piece of rope. So what you do is you get you a sharp knife, come in here, and you cut that off. Now you've got full diameter rope, and then when it tapers down to here, what will happen is when we go to hide this rope, and this is the pretty neat part, when we go to hide this rope in there, it's going to make a smooth transition from the fat piece down to the regular rope. It's almost like magic, right? So there's no knot, there's no loose ends, there's no frayed ends. It is a continuous loop, if you will. And so this section where you see it, it's fat right here. This is acting under the same principles as a Chinese finger trap. The harder you pull this, the more that rope wants to tighten around it and grab onto the center diameter rope that we just fed through. So you see how you got fat rope, and then it tapers out, and then right about right here we get down to regular rope again. So this is the perfect size loop for our Versabutton, because it's not going to come off of there. So if we're walking through the woods, this isn't going to go anywhere. But if we really need to slip it off, we can. Right? So we got that right. So now what we need to do is we need to actually make the Whoopie Sling. This is only half of it. And the Whoopie Sling is much easier to make than this. Okay? So the way the Whoopie Sling works is where essentially you have a long loop over here. This loop can be as long as you need it to be. You know, this would actually go around about an 18-inch wide tree. This is not a very long one. If you want to make a longer one, you can for big oaks or large trees if you're hunting big trees. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to find where that taper ends, and we're going to actually fish our copper wire back to the center here, and we're going to go down about 10 to 12 inches. In fact, let me mark that. So this is about 10 inches right here. I'm going to mark this, and I'm going to pop it out right there. Okay, so I'm feeding it through. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tag end and I'm going to put it inside of here, inside the little fishing tool, and I'm going to pull this back through. You got to kind of work it a little bit. It's hard to get it. There it goes. Sometimes it's hard to get it. Pop that out of there, and you are pretty much done. The only thing that I would do further than this is I would take this, I'd tie it in a knot, right, just a nice little half hitch like that. I would burn that end right here so it doesn't keep fraying on you, because this is now going to be a stopper for you. Because when this pulls through like this, you don't want to accidentally pull it all the way out. See, I can't pull it. It gives you something to grab onto, and it pulls back through this way. But you'll see when there's no tension on the main line, this slides in and out very easily. Right? But when I tension this up, if I come in here and I pull that tight, I'm going to try and put some tension on it, I can't pull that through. And it might not look like much, but this will hold a 300-pound guy. I mean, I'm 275, and it never slipped on me today when I was working with him. So, and then guess what? You loosen it up a little bit, give it some slack, and it pulls through no problem. So it works on this Chinese finger trap type of principle, where you have an outer diameter that's providing the friction and the inner diameter that is being grabbed by the outer diameter. But what you have, this goes onto your Versabutton right here. This would go around the tree, right? We're going to pretend it's going around a tree right here. You'd loop that in right there, and then you would take up your slack right here. Okay, see how that works? So if this was on the tree, if I needed more slack, I'd pull it out this way. If I needed less slack, if I needed to take up the slack, I'd pull it in this way. And that gets it tight enough to where when you need to stand on it and cinch it down, it's going to lock. It's not going anywhere. So this stuff is rated for thousands of pounds. I mean, like I said, they use this stuff to replace your wire rope on your winch, on your four-wheeler, and on your truck. I don't know anybody large enough that is willing to climb a tree that could break this. I don't know if anybody could. But this is noise-free, right? It doesn't. If you banged it on your climbing stand and if you bang it on your sticks in the morning, it's not going to make any noise. The whole thing is 1 ounce. Okay, your cam buckle straps on Lone Wolves and Old Cypress and leverage sticks and what else, XOP sticks and things like that. That weighs between 6 and 9 ounces for a 6 or an 8 foot strap with a cam buckle. And by the way, the only advantage to a cam buckle over this is that it's easier to swing that heavy cam buckle around the tree and grab it on the other side. Other than that, you're going to clank on this, it's going to make a bunch of noise, and it's heavier. So if you're looking to cut down on weight, if you're looking to cut down on noise, and you're looking for a more simplistic method to do things, then you can make this in 5 or 10 minutes with about $20 of material. You've got 4 Whoopie Swings for 4 climbing sticks, and if you really wanted to go crazy, you could even do this for your tree stand, depending on what kind of attachment system you have there as well. But the old lock-on tree stands, and I don't mean generic lock-ons, I mean lock-on brand, LOCON, with the I believe it was the lock-on limit and a few other, I think had a wind walker, a tree walker, or something like that. Those all used to use these styles of straps. I'm going back to this year. I'm looking forward to cutting down on the weight, and I'm going to try and get my whole stand with 4 sticks under about 15 or 16 pounds, and this is going to help me do it. So if you got any questions, leave a comment or send us a PM. But this is 3/16 Amsteel. You can get it on Amazon, or if you go to any ATV shop or even Harbor Freight and you want to buy their synthetic winch rope, it's pretty much the same stuff. It's all Dyneema material. So good luck.